Welcome to Fett's Legacy, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about The Bad Batch Season 2, Chapter 14, and we're going to be talking about the next two episodes that, if you guys didn't know, will be dropping together. Chapter 15 and 16 will drop together next week, and so that will be the finale of the season. Hopefully just the finale of the season and not the finale of the show, as the show this season especially has really grown on me, and I actually do quite like The Bad Batch. But guys, before we get into that video, I just want to say a quick thank you for all the support, and that we are 10 subscribers away from 500 subscribers. So if you guys could hit that subscribe button and help me reach the goal of 500 subs, it would mean a lot to me, and I will start that giveaway as soon as we hit that 500 subscriber goal. So hit that like button and subscribe, and let's get straight into this video. So in Chapter 14 of Season 2 of The Bad Batch, we open up focused on Echo and Rex and Gregor going to save some clones, and they actually do go and save Hauser. He was in Season 1 of The Bad Batch, and he ended up defecting against the Empire, and now he's being transported, I'm guessing, to Mount Tantus, where Crosshair is stationed, and that's where they're doing many of their experiments and unethical practices on the clones. Now, it does look like they're focusing on a few different kinds of experiments. Now, one that we obviously know of is the cloning, and they're trying to perfect the cloning. I do think that this is all kind of leading into the sequels, and they're trying to make the sequels kind of make a little bit more sense. Kind of like what they did with the Clone Wars after the fact of Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, kind of joining up and putting more context to a lot of the time and space in between the movies and after the movies and stuff like that. So I definitely think the goal is to kind of explain a lot more about Snoke and Palpatine living, and kind of like what's going to happen with Grogu and all of this stuff. And obviously Omega is a big part of that, and clearly as they're still trying to hunt her down, they're still trying to find her. We do see that towards the end of the episode, that they're still trying to go after Omega. They're trying to interrogate Crosshair and get something out of him with the Imperial torture droids, and they're clearly trying to get the location of Omega, I'm guessing for future cloning experiments. Now, why is Omega so important? So one of the reasons is that she's one of two people left that are an actual genetic match to Jango Fett, and so she could be used to continue cloning more clones, and I'm guessing perfect what they do to make them more obedient. And obviously the other one is Alpha, which is Boba Fett. Obviously they mentioned in Season 1 that he is MIA. We know that currently Boba Fett is still making a name for himself as a bounty hunter. He's coming up in the game. He's still quite young, so he's probably out doing various jobs. He's definitely off the radar as a bounty hunter. He's not going to be easy to find, so I can see why they're just going to go for Omega, as it would definitely be a lot easier to get and capture Omega than Boba Fett. Now, the other reason some people are speculating that they're going so hard after Omega is because she's the first Force-sensitive clone. And now, there's definitely some evidence that could be pointing towards she is Force-sensitive. We have seen her do some pretty incredible things for a kid, but obviously we have to also take into account that she is a genetic clone of Jango Fett, including Boba Fett and the rest of the clones. They all have combat skills like Jango Fett, who was trained and raised by the true Mandalorians. And so what this means, anyone with the Jango Fett DNA would obviously have great combat skills, as Jango Fett was an incredible fighter. We've seen him do it, obviously, in the movies, mostly against Obi-Wan on Kamino, which was a fantastic fight, one of my favorite moments of that movie. And so we've seen Jango Fett. He's a quality fighter, and he's taken down Jedi with his bare hands, as we've seen in his comics and books. So basically anyone with the genetic DNA of Jango Fett, if trained properly, could be a lethal force, which is why Boba Fett obviously became a super lethal force and the best bounty hunter in the galaxy, as he had Jango Fett's DNA, but without any of the hindrance put on him by being an altered clone like the rest of the clones. He is just completely unaltered, so he has Jango Fett's DNA, and he was raised by Jango Fett during the beginning, and then obviously went on to work with Aura Singh, Bosk, Cad Bane, many other bounty hunters, and obviously building his skills with that DNA of Jango Fett already at the time, who was the best bounty hunter in the galaxy. So you can see why Boba Fett and Omega would be definitely lethal and very dangerous, as they are the genetic match of Jango Fett. Now, Boba Fett obviously would be a little bit more, as he's been training and fighting his whole life, and he was raised by Jango Fett. Omega grew up in a lab, so she's a lot more tech smart and, good at helping people and healing people, fixing droids, that kind of stuff. But Boba Fett was definitely more combat ready, and so it would definitely be harder to find and capture Boba Fett out there making his name as a bounty hunter than to use what you have in Crosshair and interrogate him to find Omega. So there is a chance that she is force sensitive. We do know that most beings in the universe are at some level force sensitive. It's just, do they harness it and are they able to use the force, right? But pretty much every being is force sensitive in some way. And I'm not sure if that applies to altered clones, but I feel like that could definitely apply to unaltered clones like Omega and Boba Fett. But what do you guys think? Is Omega force sensitive, or is she just easier to find than Boba Fett for the genetic match of Jango Fett for more cloning experiments that they want to do in the future with things like Snoke and Palpatine? But whatever reason they want to find Omega, they are using Crosshair for this, and we do see that Crosshair has finally turned against the Empire, as he does send a distress message to Clone Force 99, as we know them as the Bad Batch, saying that Plan 88 is coming, which to them means they are being hunted, which we do know as they're going to go after Omega, probably try and use Crosshair against them, and they'll definitely be, I'm guessing, using a bunch of clone commandos and stuff like that for a dangerous mission to go up against the Bad Batch and Omega. Now, it was really cool to see Crosshair actually warn his brothers about what's coming, and I thought that was really great. I think that eventually the Bad Batch will go and save their brother Crosshair and rescue him from the Empire, and he will possibly join them as their newest member to replace Echo, or he sacrifices himself to save them in the end and possibly save Omega, and that could be his full story, his full character arc completed, and I think it would be a great character arc. I think Crosshair is one of the best parts of the Bad Batch, Season 1 and 2. Now, besides seeing the Bad Batch save Crosshair or Crosshair rescue Omega in the end and sacrifice himself, what else could we expect in the next 2 episodes coming next week in the Bad Batch? Honestly, guys, I think I have given up on seeing Boba Fett in this season. I just don't think it's going to happen. If it is going to happen, possibly if they do a Season 3 of the Bad Batch, I do think it is definitely wasted potential to not have Boba Fett show up in the Bad Batch and interact with Omega in some capacity. And there definitely is still a chance he could show up in the final 2 episodes. I just don't see how or why he would at this point, though. It's obvious that they're going after Omega, and they're going to be hunting her down, so there's no reason for Boba Fett to even get involved, and, I just don't see why he would even be around what's going on in the galaxy right now when he's going to be off doing his own thing, bounty hunting and stuff. Now, what would be cool is if the Empire does hire some bounty hunters to go after the Bad Batch and Omega, of course, and then Boba Fett finally realizes that this is kind of like his sister and one of the last genetic matches of his father, and instead of handing her over to the Empire, he rescues her. That is something I would have predicted happening in the past few episodes, but instead of, going after Omega, it would just be to take down the Bad Batch, Clone Force 99, and get Boba Fett. But if they're looking for the genetic match of Jango Fett and Boba Fett is right there, then they would obviously just try and capture Boba Fett. Now, what I do think will happen is we will get a massive raid on Mount Tantus, including Rex, Echo, Gregor, possibly even Commander Cody, joining up with the Bad Batch to go and rescue Crosshair and, of course, the other clones there and take it down once and for all. Now, one side thing I definitely would like to see is Scorch and maybe even some of the other members from Republic Commando. Those guys from the game were all really great characters like Sev and Boss and Fixer. I think it would be cool to maybe see another one of them and maybe have them actually interact and speak with the Bad Batch, or maybe they'll end up turning, because I don't know what's been going on, but we've seen all the clone commandos still working for the Empire. Pretty much none besides Gregor are fighting against them, so it might be cool to see someone like Scorch or someone else from Republic Commando actually join the Bad Batch and help the fellow clones and their brothers, because they are still clones at the end of the day. Even though they're the elite of the elite clones, they are still clones, and I just don't see why they would continue working for the Empire, seeing all these crazy things that they're doing to these clones, and just stand by and watch. So I think it could be really cool to maybe see some commandos turn against the Empire in the next 2 episodes. Other than that, I'm definitely just looking forward to Crosshair's reunion with the Bad Batch and seeing where that goes. But anyway, guys, let me know what you guys think will happen in the 2 final episodes of The Bad Batch Season 2. What do you think will happen with Omega and Crosshair and the Bad Batch? I look forward to reading all your comments. Hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.